o'clock.
6 o'clock, call to order. Mr. Nero with them.
Tyler Bates. Here. Warren Chipman.
Here.
Jack Dawson.
Here.
Elizabeth Johnson.
Yeah.
Terry Allen.
Here. All right, stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, new business. First, we're going to discuss the ESC Education Service Center contract and services.
So in front of you is a spreadsheet of all the services that are through the ESC that are located in a thick packet. So the packet contains the service we utilize, and then it explains it a little bit more. So this spreadsheet is identical to the one that Ms. Chismore has there. It's the same exact. Yeah, we did that in January, and those are estimates. So on this spreadsheet, I just want to go over a couple things for the board to understand. It's not that costs increase significantly. It's that we are utilizing way more services, which means the economies of scale. So as an example, if you can go to the very first, and also before I get started, if you see any redacted information, we had to make sure that we're protecting student identity. So I just went through, so that you could still see cost, but you can't figure out who it is. So I did my best to redact some student information if you see blacked out.
Good.
So if you go to the very top row, if you look at the fiscal rate of preschool disability in 2024 versus 2026, you can see it's like a $3 increase, which makes sense with inflation and just rises. But notice 2,800 days, 2,500 days, 2,700 days. Back in 2020, if you have that trend data, it was like 400 days.
Yeah.
Meaning 600, meaning we had like 6 kids. So it's not that the costs have increased, it's that we have way more students who are disabled that we legally have to educate starting at age 2 to child find. Those students have to go to 2. Yeah, you start to identify them from 0 to 2 from child find, and then there's early measures to get them into the preschool. So students that are disabled, by law, we have to get them in and provide services. So just that is a great example of why the cost didn't increase. We have way more kids. So working with our collaborative team since the beginning of the year, we had at one point 13 resident students that are being identified on top of some of these students in here. Now that number just because you identify them doesn't mean that they go in. But that traditionally number is 4 or 3. So it's a trend all
Who identifies them?
the whole team. So the school psychologist, Carmen, she's our ESC special ed coordinator. It's a team. And basically the team gets together and they have a whole checklist. I don't have the checklist on me, but there's multiple, it's like an MFE, multi-factor evaluation. And they go through. So out of that number of at one point in cabinet, and I don't remember if anybody remembers the exact number in cabinet back in like November, it was like 13, I think 11 qualified. We were like, because the data traditionally is under 3 to 4.
And that's with the entire preschool that we have, both AM and PM preschool.
Correct,
Currently, we have 13 students that are
We're identified. And again, I don't know, I'd have to get back to you on where they are, but I'm just giving that as an example of the utilization, because before you have that data in 2020 where the number wasn't that much. So that's the economies of scale when we look at the ESC cost, okay? So continuing with that, over the past 5 years, the average annual preschool unit cost has been approximately 2%, while we have doubled the amount of students needing that service. This entire spreadsheet is all about utilization of services, okay? Continuing, I gave an example there of widgets. If you buy widgets at $5, your total is $15. If the next year the widget price goes 2%, then it's $5.10. But if you buy 100 widgets, now that price shot up to $510, simply because the amount of students utilizing that service. So to be conservative, we, when Mario forecasts, we always assume around 3 to 5% of increase, because obviously people get about a 2% increase of salary every year, okay? So that's what the ESC when we go through this. So starting at the top, I just went over preschool data. You can see the days of service. Why is it a little lower than 2025? Well, we started after Labor Day, right? So you gotta factor that in as well. There's a lot of factors that get into this.
Is there a minimum
So-
number of days that preschoolers have to go? Is it, or they're not
No,
like the rest of the kids?
They're on ESC, and I think they're 178, but we've had extremely a lot of snow days this year, and we started a little later.
So will they have to go back? I mean, will they
No.
have to make those? Preschool doesn't have to
No,
do that.
that's
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
K through 12. So then if I skip down to ED elementary, notice I highlighted it green. So
Mhm.
we went from 96,000 to 50,000 this year simply because less students need that service. So some of these students, we actually,
That's
through the IE
emotional
correct,
disability?
yeah, emotional disorder. So when we look at students, maybe students have graduated, maybe students don't need that classroom, and that classroom's in Springfield. But again, it's all about student need. And we are at a meeting today where they talk about the needs of kids. Though the population is decreasing, the needs of students, and you guys are in the school a lot, are shooting up through the roof. And a lot of these were mandated by law to provide an education. We have to provide these
What do you
students.
mean, the classrooms in Springfield? We don't educate those students here in our campus?
We don't have teachers with an ED license.
Oh.
So some of these classifications, you need certain licensure.
Okay,
There's certain seat counts. So if you're in this classroom, it's called a unit, you can have only up to 8. You need a teacher and an assistant. Well, we don't have a teacher with that license. Some students that are called cross-categorical, like Sarah Robinson, for example, we hired her as a cross-cat. But if a student so she can service some students, but if they have a different diagnosis, you've gotta provide the services.
so we are sending the kid to Springfield and we are paying for it?
And we're paying for
Okay.
transportation to and from.
Okay.
Some students cost a lot
Okay,
because category 1 versus category 6. So there are various categories. That's where if you ever hear me talk or go back in your mind when I've talked about low incident versus high incident. High incident students means like SLD, specific learning disability. There's a lot of students that are identified with SLD or OHI, other health impairment. Low incident are spina bifida, or where there's very few. The state of Ohio says that it takes a lot to educate these kids, so they actually give you money for categorical 6 versus categorical 1. There's a different threshold.
Mm.
It doesn't replace what it costs, because it's
Okay.
usually way more to educate some of these kids. We have some students, in wheelchairs and walkers that are 20, that are 21, that are in this report,
okay,
that we have to legally educate. We can't do that here, so the ESC is a purchase service.
okay.
So it's almost like when you go through this list, imagine a person, if not 2 people, for each of these areas that South Range would want to hire if we would want to provide these services.
Right,
Because you can even say, like, there's different schools in the area that work with different kids.
Yes.
We have, like, there was a school Manor, that's another school that we send kids to.
for a different behavioral problem?
Not behavioral, it could be autism, it could be,
Yeah. So there
it's a
are-
different
Any
category.
kind of developmental problem?
Correct.
Oh, okay,
But
Yeah.
we got people here that are certified, so those kids were able to ship back to the school. So
Correct.
there are different schools in the area that people aren't aware of.
right,
That will take our community Mountain County schools and work with the kids there. That way you don't have to pay for this.
The teacher,
the
yeah.
teacher, which
because-
is, I'm sure, very
A lot
expensive.
of people don't know about it.
Yeah, and also, thank you for bringing that up. So a lot of the times you meet with the team. So we have a student that is at a developmentally disabled school, and we have a teacher here who could meet that student's needs. But meeting with the IEP team, because it's always a team decision, any administrator can't come in and say like that. It doesn't work, it's a team. So the parents, like, I've been at this school for a long time, they have like 2 nurses per kid, and the cost is like X. We would need to hire those 2 and do all this just to factor that in. So I say to Mario, like, listen, it's an IEP team decision. The family is comfortable there. It's best for the kid. Let's just keep that kid here. We pay for that as well.
Mhm.
Jack, you were going to have a question?
No, sorry, just clearing my throat.
So looking at that green box, we had certain students in years past, and we had less this year. That's why the green meaning we reduced that cost there, but it was because less kids are using that service.
Okay.
Okay? I'm going down the 2 red areas here, so I'm looking at OT and then SLP. We actually have an SLP and an OT. Next year, we're looking at requesting 0 days and using our own people for that. Because if you look in prior years, which I had to redact, you can see the thousands of dollars because there were more kids. We simply couldn't
Oh,
send.
more than they could be on the caseload for
Correct.
Madeline or Adrian.
So-
Oh,
So
okay.
now that we were able to do that, we're like, wow, let's
Okay.
look at the IEP minutes.
I was
let's
gonna
go
ask that
through this.
question. Great.
So we're, potential, and again, this is all potential because I could get a call tomorrow, a student moves in and they have speech needs and they have, so that's what's difficult about this is the ESC is definitely there to service, to say, hey, you have this need, we can take care of that. So potential, around $5,000-ish, $5,000 if we were to use our own people, if you do add up those 2 reds.
Okay.
Looking at speech therapy, physical therapy, we do not have a PT, but again, these are students that are around the county that we legally have to provide PT. Moving down for visually impaired, orientational mobility, we don't have, obviously, these are very far and few individuals that are trained and qualified around the state of Ohio. They charge by the minute
Mhm.
because there's such a need for these education professionals. We don't have one, so most people go through this person through the county.
Mhm.
Okay. Continuing down, if you see school psychology, so it's 2% increase, and we pay for 150 days. So when Elaine Bracancio was a longtime psychologist here, that we paid her salary and benefits, which was upwards to $120,000. When she left, we purchased this service for $79,000. So instead of paying $120,000, we're paying $79,000 for a cost savings. And she's here 3 days a week. And that could be 4 days next week. It could go down to 1 day next week, depending on, because these are all up to 150.
And this is also dependent on the number of students. who
Correct.
are that need.
Correct.
Okay. I'm assuming all of this is gonna be required based on,
Utilization.
okay.
Student utilization. Be good because the teachers and the principals are doing a lot more of their own systems because we instituted systems of learning here. The ESC came back to me and said, reducing it to 1 day a week is not an option under this model. The teaching and learning is priced by ADM, that's average daily membership, to ensure equitable coverage of departmental costs. If the district discontinues this service, we may contract for individual support at $600 per day, plus any applicable meeting. Now, you also have to jump down to the yellow. So if we get rid of the $49,000, then the yellow is going to jump up to around $13,000 to $14,000 because that's also packaged in. We get a reduced rate of career counselors. Remember Mr. Zolik explained all this stuff over the last couple of meetings, and we will be a 5-star school. Literally, we've had a lot of support and help. The drones, the building trades, the U signs from career counselors, which, by the way, I was at a legislative meeting two weeks ago. There is an early bill to mandate every school have career counselors because that's a big push in the government. They think it's going to wait till the new governor, like if Vivek or Dr. Akin get in. They think both parties want this. So it's not law now, but we're covered anyways because we've been using Doug and Gina Saxton. So very good cost, but I have a plan for that cost.
So this, going back to that curriculum and staff development, this reducing the teaching and learning to 1 day per week, is that their requirement or is that the state requirement?
We can't do that. It was their requirement.
Their requirement.
Yeah.
So is that a negotiation tool? That's the question.
We can't negotiate.
There's no negotiation with them.
I attempted.
Okay.
So, and we do get a lot, like we get a lot of support with that. So then moving down to this career counselors, you can kind of see, I just read that. Now, if you look at boldface, and again, this is nothing against the personnel, nothing against, but when I met with the team, I always talked about strengths and weaknesses. Hey, what are the strengths of the services? What are some things that we need and don't need? And it's not that we don't have that need, but with the 14,000, we paid 11,000 with social workers. The career counseling is a greater need because of the high school transformation going on. So the team said, that's something we can maybe pause and take a TV timeout this year. We can kind of see if we need that for the next year, but that's why it's red. So I'm looking to remove that social work service. They came in like once a month to provide the service. A couple more, a couple less, it depended on the week. Like they did help us with House Bill 123, Start with Hello, like they did help us with mandates, but our people are comfortable that they can do that, our counselors really are comfortable that they can do that. And we created an I-Care team for the system to meet students' needs, which is what a social worker kind of does. So that's why that's pink. I'm looking to reduce that cost and move that up to the career counselor. BCBA stands for Board Certified Behavior Analyst. They are a dime a dozen. If you go back to the original conversation, there was an increase of student behaviors. It's everywhere, special education. And there are very few BCBAs. So 2 years ago, the ESC did not have, you could see last year they didn't have it, it's blank. But because so many schools were asking, we actually, one of our staff members' wives does this. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is your salary? And she told me what it was, and I was like, whoa. So when I saw this cost, I was like, we'll sign up for 45 days.
So this is an added service.
Correct, but it's for students that have severe needs. Legally, the team comes in and you have to do a BIP, behavior intervention plan. You have to do a functional behavior assessment. And the person doesn't have to be a BCBA, but the BCBA works with the IEP team, the student and the family to work with student behaviors. So if a lawsuit or something ever goes south with a student with disability, your BCBA is like top notch and you provide the implementation of the recommendations from them instead of like someone who's not trained in behavior, like an intervention specialist or a teacher. So looking at this cost, because our IEP team has been working with students, we're looking to reduce that from 30 days to about from 45 days to about 30 days. So that could be a cost savings of around 15K. So all in all, when I met with the ESC in January, a team of us met with the ESC, and then we met several times with ACM, the principals. I mean, we're very collaborative. We're making an effort. We're chipping away. We're seeing what utilization, what students' needs are. Hey, we might not have a need this year for that. Hey, we're doing this. And you can see potentially around 36 to 40K, potentially, that we could maybe have a cost savings. Again, that's if no needs were to arise.
So, a couple questions.
Yeah.
Okay, going back up to the preschool.
Mm-hmm.
So we have AM and PM, and we have kids as young as 2 years old in there, or no?
It's 3. You have to identify starting at age 2.
Okay,
I can get you, I don't know the exact ages.
so we have
It could
3
vary.
and 4-year-olds in the same classroom?
It-
Is it the same curriculum?
Yes, and I don't know the exact ages, it could be 3, 4, 5, I don't know the exact ages, sometimes some students, you go ahead, Liz.
Go ahead.
I just know because my neighbor's kids go there, and it's the same curriculum for the younger one and the older one. It's not like, it's not a preschool, then pre-K, it's one curriculum.
Very play-based, very social emotional. At that level, the standards are more social emotional, play-based, more of your ready for school type of standards that they follow. And they're a 5-star preschool.
I can read your face.
I know, I was surprised when I found out that my neighbor, the younger one and the older one was getting the same curriculum. I was surprised.
So how is that helping the older kids though? I'm just wondering if they're getting the same curriculum.
At that level, it's not addition, then subtraction, then multiplication, then division. At that level, you're taking students that are identified with non-disabled peers. And it's more about socialization of students that have disabilities to get them ready for kindergarten. The whole point is to get them ready to have
Socially.
a successful.
For kindergarten.
Socially, there are academic standards, but it's not what you think. It's can they scribble? That they're understanding words. Words are objects, letters or symbols. I don't have the standards in front of me, but they're not what you're thinking of grade 1 standards versus grade 2. That's why around that age, they have usually hop, skip, jump. Are you listening to the rules? They're very social emotional based, which is why you can have various types of kids in, because students that are disabled, you want to put them with non-disabled peers for that peer effect. And that's how many schools, it's actually illegal in Ohio to have it if it's just a student with disability preschool.
Right.
I was surprised too. I would love, because I didn't know that, and I know I called one of the preschool teachers in passing, and I was just surprised. I was like, oh, I thought the morning was the one group and the afternoon was I wasn't.
Like older and younger.
Yeah, because I don't know their standards. I don't understand the preschool standards. I've never looked at them, to be honest.
So are we, by having a preschool here, are we doing the kids coming into kindergarten a disservice? Because they're not,
The standards.
they're not to the kindergarten standards that we have?
You have, no, because you can look at our K, our 1, our 2, our 3 data, and we're 5-star at the early literacy piece. It's not about comprehension. At that grade, you do not want kids reading. It's not pick up a book and reading. It's not how many sight words. It's not, the brains doesn't operate at that way, at that level. So it is more of getting them ready for that structure. There are standards. It's very play-based. It's very hand-based. If we go in there, they have toys everywhere. Can they follow along? Fluency, do they left to right? Print readiness standards, numeracy readiness standards, playing in sand for formations of letters. That's what we're talking about, which are very similar to K standards. And then the K builds on it like that. So so I would answer it as yes if you look at our early literacy data, but I'd have to get that actual number back to you.
Okay. And another question, so we have Mrs. Maynard, who retired this year as our guidance counselor, and we no longer have Elaine Brancaccio as our school psychologist. So when I was looking and reading, so what if we would look into hiring a full-time psychologist / guidance counselor? Because reading this is basic, the difference is the guidance counselor does the curriculum. Well, in K through 4, they really don't need the curriculum, that's why we have the curriculum coordinator. Can we look into doing that and getting the psychologist off of this and hiring a full-time psychologist / guidance counselor?
So they're 2 different licenses, so it's no longer a guidance counselor, it's a school counselor. And number 2, school psychologists are completely different. Now, Elaine, I think, had a dual certification. I think she started out that way.
Mm-hmm.
you would I want you to consider it as they would then be part-time elementary, part-time school psychologists. So essentially, you would be almost in the same boat we're in now.
Yeah, with full-time benefits.
Correct, with full-time
So
benefits.
that's why. So essentially we're saying, do our own instead of contracting it out with this.
Correct.
Yeah, I thought we just said we went from 120,000
Right.
down to 79,000 by eliminating benefits.
Correct.
Well, Elaine was with us for, oh my gosh,
Yeah, long time.
almost 15 years, and that's where she got up to that. But I'm saying if we go, because the average, let me see what I found out.
Yeah, so I guess that's the trade-off though. But if you could sub out the guidance counselor as well, there might be a net benefit there. But then
Right.
it's two separate.
Basically
services.
hiring a psychologist to,
Can you double duty?
Yeah,
It's, from looking at what the, House bill and the regulations were, it said, I believe we can.
almost essentially not replacing the guidance counselor, though that person would be able to fulfill that
yeah, no,
job.
Right.
I'm following. I guess the question is that
It's two different, it's
like-
two different worlds.
And it's two different.
You would almost need to tell, like Elaine, if I talked to Elaine about this, I said, how did you do both? And she was like, it was tough. 3 days a week, I did. So a psychologist is coming in with standard, very medical, I want you to think of when you go to a doctor, you complete self-assessments and so forth. That is a school psychologist, very medical, more medically aligned than a school counselor.
How much time are we using the school psychologist?
Up to 150 days, so it's like 3 days a week. And she's good right now, like that's a good number.
Okay,
We don't, right now, we don't have the need to go up or down, so I was gonna keep it next year, that's it. School counselor is your social, emotional, your scheduling, it's a completely different job, so you would think of it as 3 days a week, we're paying her, she's going to do district-wide school psychologist stuff, and then 2 days a week, hey Steve, you have a school counselor. It's
That's
two
the
different
same like
brains.
now.
does the school counselor work full-time? Isn't it the same
Currently-
on your full-time?
Currently,
part-time.
she's part-time, so currently.
How much is part-time?
2-3 days a week. Depend. I think she flips on the week.
Oh, okay.
And what was her rate, do you remember?
I don't know, off the top of my head.
And she got benefits though,
Correct.
correct?
But with the needs of students increasing, and us not having social workers, Steve and I are having conversations of looking at a full-time elementary counselor. We're in early conversations for that. Cindy's leaving.
So you want to up that service?
For just a counselor. Again, we haven't solidified that. We are in early conversations of that. Because Cindy's like retiring.
Yeah.
And I mean, just being over there as much as I'm over there. I mean, it's not the same South Range of 10 years ago. You know,
No,
these
I
kids,
know,
the
it's different,
needs
for sure.
have changed.
That's
That
right.
House bill, the mandates,
Yeah.
start with hello, like some of the things, you know, Cindy organized the 40 different volunteers. We have all those volunteers coming in to work with students. There's just a lot, RTI, the MTSS process, which is new. So there's just a lot going on that I don't even know if a half-time counselor seeing the needs of the kids and then meeting with teachers and kind of hearing, well, we have this student, we have that student, we have this student. Well, they're playing a 10-person game with 5 people. And oftentimes it's Steve or the teachers themselves. So without having that social worker cost, we were like, wow, we could probably find someone that could do house bill this, meet more students' needs, hitting more, and then paying them full time. So increase. But we're in early, again, I kind of put that out there to Steve, and I think he was trying to look at some of his data.
So DSC is charging us $79,000
For school psychologists, yeah.
And from when I got online and was looking at the different stuff for, through the Board of Education, it did say the school psychologist can perform duties of a school counselor, which I understand we're gonna do a full-time counselor now. But, they said around in this area, it's anywhere from 64,000 to 97,000. And just last year, the ESC listed a school psychologist for 53,000. So we're getting charged an extra 20,000
But that's without her benefits.
without our benefits.
So with the 150 days, that's what we're being charged. That's it. We're not paying. So that 60, whatever the number you just read, add another 30 to that for the benefits. Like we're only paying that 75K total. We're not paying any benefits.
But that's only for 160 days, if we can 150 days. How many days are we in class?
Next year, 171.
So Terry's looking at this going, okay, if we can hire a school psychologist for, even bump this up a couple of years, $60,000 plus $80,000, and we have them here for 180 days.
$1,000 isn't gonna.
I mean, well, you're
I'm
just switching that number from the $79,000 from the ESC contract to our administration. However, if you consider the benefit of having that teacher actually be a member of South Range and the benefits of having that in-house, I think
Like
that's
how we started out, Elaine. Just something.
just a thought.
But then you're on the hook. You ain't getting off.
And it's very difficult. I mean, I talked to Elaine. It is very challenging to balance day one, day two, district-wide. You're going to evaluation meetings, IEP meetings, you're doing, and then day three, day four, you're doing a counselor. I'm not saying it's not doable.
No, I'm not even
We're
saying
not even saying that.
Oh,
This is
okay,
like-
okay.
Just if we just hired that person in-house, wouldn't there be a benefit to us having that person in-house? It wouldn't cost us any more, and we would have that person in-house.
It would cost us more.
You would cost it,
It's
a lot.
just, it's a Friday.
Okay.
So the difference you just cited is a Friday a week, right? That
Right.
You're paying them for the Friday they're gonna be here instead of the Friday they're not here. It's the same dollar amount, it's just whether you're getting them on the Friday or not, right?
Right.
So it's $30,000 difference, just make the math simple. 5 days out of a week goes down to 4 times 10, forget the other 2 months, it's 40 days, right? That's your difference. So the question is, do those 40 days result in a substantial change for the kids? For the dollar amount difference? And
For school
I don't know the answer.
For a school psychologist.
Yeah.
And here's the other part nobody's considering is that this number could go down. Should the correct so but if you hire a full-time psychologist, now you're on the hook for
That's that amount.
it,
Absolutely, yeah.
increasing benefits that we don't know how high healthcare costs are gonna go. The healthcare or the salary increases. So you have full control for no additional cost, where you can just say, thanks, but no thanks, ESC, we're good, we don't need this many days, we can cut this back to 120, take the savings, and not be on the hook for the full-timer, as a South Range. I understand the premise of, having them there as a full-time rater or whatever, but, I just think that it makes more sense to pick and choose this, like, as you need it, not.
So
Oh,
Tyler,
okay.
piggyback, so we are allowed to decrease.
That's what I was just gonna ask.
Yeah.
So if we decide next year, okay, we didn't need this guy for 150 days, we only got charged for 120 days, that's a possibility.
Yeah, but if you
Do you
hire
get-
full-time, it's not.
Then it's,
Right.
yeah, then you're paying that salary. So they send us a bill at the end of the month, is that how you pay them?
Well, I send out what's called SDE reports that show the trend of what our expenses are, but we do which will be on the next week's meeting, is at the end of the year, we do recap. So, we'll board approve a new contract amount and gets deducted from our foundation. So we don't cut on a check. We have projected services of what we expect that we're gonna owe.
Kind of like the taxes.
And then at the end of the year, we do a recap. Did you meet? Because
So we either
the
pay them or
mid-year-
we get back.
Then
the
maybe
credit
that
for
is on
the
wrong,
year.
so the mid-year adjustment is when we had so many preschool kids, but then they moved down. So
Okay,
we
so
over or we under.
That is a huge benefit. If that is the case with all of these services, that if we don't use them, we don't have to pay for
Yeah.
them, that's a huge
Well, the
benefit.
only one we can't negotiate was that teaching and learning, because I asked.
So that's almost like a membership fee.
Correct.
Yeah, but the other
It's a
benefit.
membership.
It's fine,
Now,
you're
once
right.
our team is,
I was just gonna say, but the other benefit to keep in mind is kind of what Tyler was hinting at least for me as well, like the rate of benefit cost increase usually is gonna accelerate much faster than the wage that you're gonna be dealing with. So you're right, like you hook them, we own them, their benefits increase at a faster rate year over year over year. Our costs are increasing faster than just subbing out like this right now. You see what I'm getting at?
I do.
there are other tertiary costs with that, for example, professional development.
Yeah.
There's a lot of compliance and a lot of PD that we're not sending for that 49K, that's all inclusive. We're not sending for their registration for this, for that, and there's a ton.
ESC is handling all of that
Yeah.
education for those.
Same thing with preschool, all the snacks, staples, paper, like all that. Now, I let them on our copier, because it's like, I'm not gonna ask you to bring a copy, it's more of a headache for Dean, actually. So little things like that, I'm just like, no problem, no worries, but yeah, we're not, or, and the other aspect is, with preschool specifically, you have very involved parents, and if there's any discipline issue with a staff member or a parent, the ESC handles all of that. We do not have a supervisor over that, they do. So there's a whole other factor to supervision that is legally you have to have.
Yeah,
X,
who's
Y,
the
and Z.
administrator of the,
Stacy at the ESC.
and she's at the
Yeah,
ESC?
and she calls me up, for example, a couple of years ago, there was a situation, she called me up, she said, this is how I'm handling, da 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 da.
Where is her salary on here?
She's not, we don't purchase that service, that's through the ESC.
Lumped into the daily cost.
It's probably don't cost.
So,
Yeah.
the costs are on the preschool. One thing nobody touched on here was I know you mentioned that you tried to negotiate, but we're not getting a different rate than any other of the other local districts utilizing Nohonaw County ESC. We are at the current rate, so just,
Yeah.
it's not tailored to South Range, you're not taking us to the cleaners, we're literally just purchasing the service at a set rate, and it's not negotiated district to district, just for anybody who might watch this and so they understand that it's a flat fee, and it's no different if you go to Canfield or if you Poland, whatever, if they use it, that's the rate.
And again, their model is different than the Trumbull, Columbia, Stark, Summit. They have a different model, which is how they run their business, which is great. They do have different models based on number of kids in district. Because we're here, we have that set rate at this number. Schools that are at this number might have that because, so
Well,
it's,
yeah.
it's their business model. So when I had conversations this year, I was like, hey, is there any way, and it, with all due respect, Dr. Zapolnik, that's not our model. We hear what you're saying, but that's not how we operate, to your point. That's how we do business. And again, I guess I didn't realize that because I was like, well, listen.
Can we cross count?
We're
Yeah.
friends, aren't we?
Yeah, are we allowed to look at different ESCs even though we're in Mahoning County and get
Yeah.
lower rates?
So Ohio allows us to do whoever. I can absolutely do that over the next months and maybe report out on services and what the cost could be, utilization of service could be. I gotta quit saying cost because it's kids using the service. But yeah, we would be the only one in the county to look at, to go on everywhere else. But I could absolutely,
It's just to get an idea what
Yeah.
the other counties
I can
rates
do
are and compare.
So this $205,000 up here, and it's the first line, it says preschool disability, that's the administrator's fee is lumped into that, because I was gonna ask for $205,000 under,
My understanding is all the costs going to run a preschool are factored into that daily cost.
so that's everything,
Supervisor.
okay,
So it's $79.58
Yep.
per day.
okay.
They factor all that. When I asked about that before, they said, take with inflation, take 2 to 3% every year, and then that's everything. Your supervisors, your pencils, your food, your snacks, your toys, all of that. For us, I think it was $71 for us to educate a South Range kid a day. I think that's what the number was last year. I think I reported it to the board. So
What?
for them to do their business, it's $79.
Is there an option for us to run the preschool in-house?
I think we looked at that last year.
So I did a cost analysis of that last year, and it's 200,000. You see, for us to do the same service, it was 308,000, and that was off of if it was a single insurance with meeting the mandates
And the
because
bus kids.
yeah, busing. So it would cost us approximately $100 and whatever thousand more, as well as we would own that liability because they take all the liability if something were to go on. Because preschool rules are different than K-12 rules. So there's a lot of compliance piece, a lot of stuff through EMIS, which is how data gets uploaded in Ohio, that they take care of all of that. And they do work with our K teachers to look at curriculum and so forth. But yeah, I did look at that analysis, and it was reassuring to hear that the former administrators here did an analysis of it as well. I didn't know until I was done. And they were like, we came up with numbers close to you. I was like, oh my gosh. Because, again, with numbers coming up with insurance and with, starting salaries.
Jerry, you asked that last year.
Yeah.
And I reached out to Bethany and Dennis, and they told me the same. They were like, it's fine. I appreciate you guys allowing me to go through this. I know I did too much talking,
No,
That's good.
but
no,
I just
no.
wanted-
That's what that was for.
Everybody an idea of, I mean, because this is it's a $500,000.
Yeah.
And
And if I ask this question, and I'm just saying, what happens if we all say no?
everything you see on there,
Against the law.
we have, it's
Right,
against
no,
the law.
I realize we have to have all
I'm
this.
calling
We have to
Megan.
look at staff.
I'm
Right, I
calling
realize we have to have all of this, so if we just said, nope, forget ESC, we're not paying for all this, you would have to, and this is a question, not it's gonna come out as a statement, you would have to literally go and find this service elsewhere. Or is ESC the only game in town to get this service?
There's other ESCs. I do not know if they offer some of those services. I would be really nervous because
Mhm.
now we're violating IEPs,
Mm-hmm,
and that's discrimination laws.
mm-hmm,
I would call our attorney and say, help, what do I do?
mm-hmm.
Because now I'm really nervous for a lot of families who you're literally, it's not like you can start up tomorrow.
And the only reason I ask is because we get this, and I know a couple of us are sticker shocked by it, and it's been that way for a couple of years now. But you're giving this to us, and I appreciate all the work you've done with it, but it's this or what? Or nothing. There's no choice here.
No.
Yeah, that's
The other option,
Stinks.
let's say go to the ESC or hiring staff
Or
to
hiring
fill the
staff.
circles.
Right.
There is another
And then
option, it's just more
cost.
expensive.
Right.
I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, like,
Right.
there is another
And
option.
you've explored that, so that's the answer, is yes, the other option is we can do it on our own, but it would probably cost us
And the other thing is too, is
a
there-
more.
factor in the kids, right? So you look at the students whose names are redacted on this sheet, right? If the families and the children are happy with the services
Right.
they're getting, and the last thing you wanna do is
disrupt that service for
shift
those
over
students.
go flipping the table over just to, for the students' sake, you know what I mean?
Right,
If you take something familiar and, they're doing well and you change it, you're looking at a whole lot of, the most vulnerable students and residents are on this sheet.
Mhm.
And the last thing I think any one of us wants to do is to put those kids in a situation.
Yep.
The best cost average you're gonna through ESC, district our size, no matter what size it is going through educational services.
That's why it's
That's
here.
gonna pull.
This
Right.
is,
So
this
if
is
you don't like
what they
Lake
do.
County, you're looking at Columbia County in trouble.
yeah, is it,
The other ones are probably
is
too
it
far away to
something you
service us.
could do to go just check with
Research.
Columbiana and just
So.
see if they're,
again, you're changing everything. You'd be changing every administrator or every teacher,
And I-
every psychologist,
Yep.
every audio person, everybody is on this sheet. You'd be changing it. So I think
what
it's
if it
worth a
changes
look.
it by $100,000?
Well, we have to look at that. But what I'm saying though is that also has to be a consideration. We have to,
It's just
and
a
knowing
different-
that they might be able to sell you something without getting the full picture, right? The Mahoney County ESC's been here forever, so they know exactly what cost the pre-sold. There's no hidden cost. It's like going in and getting an estimate for an excavation project where somebody who's done that before and knows that ground knows exactly what they're getting. Whereas if you go outside and try to, somebody can say, oh yeah, I could do it cheaper. Well, until you get in there and until you find out what exactly is entailed, then the price might slowly creep up. And I just get very weary about going through and changing the people that are so sensitive to these kids. If it's a requirement, we're already saving money. I do think we need to possibly look in, make a call to Columbiana County, see if they even offer
Right,
these services.
that's all I'm
But-
asking, it's just,
But there is.
is there
There
a comparison?
There is a benefit though, from looking. Is the non-negotiation just because it's purchase our service because we know you would have to do it for more? Or is it because,
The teaching and learning piece of it, it's a non-negotiation. Yeah.
or because we truly can't negotiate with them? If you come to the table and say, hey, I can get the service from X county ESC for X dollars less, and it's still cheaper to me.
It's a
Does
game,
that,
It's a game.
does then that change the negotiation table for the same people to stay with the kids at a potentially lower rate? You see what I mean? So the information is useful potentially. potentially.
Yes, it
So-
could be.
So I can't speak to their,
I don't know the rules.
I don't know that yet, but I do know many districts, for example, Marlington is in Stark County, they're over by Alliance. Marlington purchases our ESC's career
So
counselors.
that's crossed, yeah.
So they're, Don Mocha Columbiana, he has technology from Columbiana, he has teaching and learning from over here. So there are schools, usually they purchase many, many more services when you look at total of ESC. So I do know that. I do know I can look around. So for example, if we're happy with the majority, but we wanted to look at, I'm just making up audiology, I'm making up something.
Right,
Right, what's it look like and sound like? They might say we don't have that.
right.
Oh my God. You know what I mean? But yeah, I could go through that. And I can over the next couple of months kind of report out to the board like, hey, I looked at.
Mhm.
I think as I'm processing this, I would almost take this entire contract and say, hey, you know, what's it look like whole scale? Okay, now what's just this look like? What's just this look like?
And I realize that's work. I do. I realize that that's work and
Okay,
it's
so-
writing it on. But I think I think it would be interesting and I think it does give us a little chip to throw on the table for the Mahoney County ESC when it comes to talk. Let them know we're talking to
Yeah,
other people.
it's just, it's not just always value in dollars, right? Like Tyler's right, it's value in what the kids are getting out of it. But there is a utility that we don't know about for a negotiation to maybe keep the same value for the kids and change the dollar value, right? So I think it's a useful thing to explore in my opinion. Doesn't mean we have to do it.
No, we don't have to do it.
Some of the services, it's $503 a day on some of the services.
But I think we've been doing a good job on questioning the past few years. Like
Yeah.
we've already questioned the preschool and the cost. You know, we moved kids from Manor back in the district, and people don't know about this stuff, but we have been working with this contract. So I mean, we have been doing a good job analyzing this every year.
I think too, doing our diligence by staying on top of it,
Yes.
questioning
Every year, questioning
every day.
Questioning them.
And
just
get an
the-
explanation.
But we've been doing, yeah.
Just to make sure I'm following you, Jared, so just by the work you did already and looking at the changes you proposed within this current structure, you said if some of these reds hit, we're looking between, you said 34 to 40?
Something like that, yeah. Right around
Just-
36.
Just by making adjustments within the current ESC
Yeah.
model that we have.
Subtle adjustments and we're chipping away. That's on top of what Liz talked about from last year where we brought over 100-some thousand back into the district.
Yeah, no, thank you for doing that.
We're working
Yes.
on it.
It's-
No, I appreciate it.
The columns are adding up.
finding that.
All right, any other questions on the ESC contract?
No,
All right.
You did not spend too much time on that.
Okay.
So
yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
that was
So the
big.
next
Thank
thing
you.
is going over the standard form. So the form we used last year for the evaluations was with the Ohio School Board Association. And then there was one that was with our policy manual that,
I'll be honest, if we are not following the Department of Education, I will not be for it.
no,
It has to follow the standards.
yes. So definitely we will use the Department of Education's evaluation. Is there anything we want to add or
Well,
kind of
then we-
specify?
Do we or do we not need to, this,
You would have to match every single one of those up to the standard.
I realize
And as a teacher, I'm like, oh, no.
okay, but this one's in our policy
I
and we
understand.
adopted it, so
If
we
you read the policy, it says we can use any evaluation we do.
see fit, it
That's-
says that.
In the forms,
So I'm speaking,
in the forms, there are teacher evaluation, principal evaluation, there are generic forms, that's from 2007.
Yes.
Yes, I know.
State of Ohio.
I
So the state of Ohio adopted state superintendent, teacher, and principal standards that are from the Board of Education themselves, in which professionals, board members, and superintendents sat down and said, for each of these areas, here is the standard evaluation tool, and that's the one that OSBA and VASA. I learned that VASA's in the middle of updating it currently, like right now. So for that, yeah, I didn't know that. I was like, oh my God.
So
So
read here. Sorry. The board shall, at the onset of each evaluation, determine the method by which the evaluation should be conducted and the evaluation model to be used.
So like around the states, superintendent evaluations aren't based on local performance alone, or preference alone, but rather than a statewide expectation that go back to my superintendent standards as well as Ohio educator standards, they all align. So the vision, the continuous improvement, all of those areas.
Well, should we change it though? Then should we change our policy and adopt the new evaluation form?
Well,
No,
that's-
because they're updating it, and they're updating a new one.
They're currently updating, but again, those forms, Laura, we have forms for a lot of things that we don't, they're just there if you wanna use them. You don't have to use, like the teacher evaluation form is that,
Oh, God.
but for
I don't
teachers.
understand.
Yeah, it's the old school,
Yeah.
like think 1998, like it's the older. So,
That wasn't that long ago.
You don't have to adopt any form that we use, it's to our preference year by
Okay.
year.
Yeah, I'm just saying if we aren't holding
No.
myself as an educator or to the state standards, just in any field, you have the top standards, like,
No, I
that's what
agree.
you, so like even his goals should reflect the standards.
So we'll be using the OSBA evaluation form standards worksheet, but is there anything that we would like to add or kind of put it, or take away, or
We're
My thought,
not add, but I mean, take away, but add,
I
make it a little bit more.
so,
Just to adjust the form a little bit. We could still use the same form, but would we want to add something or?
I didn't think we were going over, like,
We're not
No, no,
doing the
just
evaluation,
the
just the form
form.
itself. Just the rubric. This is,
no,
I just have this
the
printed.
rubric has all the standards.
Okay,
yeah,
Yeah, so
what more
There
would you
wouldn't
add?
be, I mean, as long as you're hitting the standard.
so if I may suggest,
Sorry.
the standards are there, and when we do this with teachers and principals, if there is if there's an area that I have for a teacher or I have for a principal, we sit down and I'm like, hey, what do you think you're doing really, really well? And we usually go over, hey, what is an area that you think you can improve, or what's something that maybe is district-wide that you're not doing? And then it's usually a mutually created goal.
Yeah.
So the goals that align with standards, and the goals are things that we can mutually say, like, we want to see Jared on the roof more, or whatever, or down in the well, digging.
No thanks.
So that would be a goal then that aligns with our safety and resources goal person, which is in one of the
right,
standards.
yes.
So I think, if I may offer, just because I've done way more evaluations than you guys, I think you're saying the same thing, and it would be we don't change the standards, but it would be a mutually agreed upon goal that you would say,
Yeah.
hey, what are your thoughts, Jared, on this? And I'd say, you guys know me, like, sweet, let's get after it, so like, I'll create a goal with that and systematize. I'm big into systems, so.
Right,
So it's already done.
right.
So we-
Yeah,
So
Just
everything,
goals.
everything that you, any of the conversations, objectives that we wanna see, things, ongoing programs, projects, whatever you're into at that point in time, we then tie that into one of the evaluation rubric categories and add it in there as a specific goal or
Correct.
and there, so really, I am not in favor of changing the form itself, but I think there's already been a good job of how these specific goal, it says specific work objectives and strategies to meet goal. And then it lists, a specific link back to the rubric, and I think that's the most customizable way without changing the form itself and to tailor it towards South Range and, what's going on currently. So, I don't think there's any really need to.
No, the
Change,
state, the
yeah.
state does it for us.
I didn't see anywhere on here where there was like, when I think of an evaluation, I think of like even a grading scale, like 1 to 5, 1 being
No,
the
it has
bare
to-
minimum.
Yeah, it is,
This is the actual one that you guys created last.
no, we
year,
didn't create the state created.
Well,
Yeah,
But
we-
if
you filled in these blanks.
We use.
Yes, when you go into your evaluation, like for myself, it was myself and the principal, and we would come up with mutual goals that has to fit this. Then at the end of the year, they come in and you go over your evaluation, and then it's like
satisfactory or you would tweak stuff.
And where does it, on this actual evaluation, where does it say?
You basically
Good
go
or bad?
It says recommendations or
It's
accommodations.
recommendations or accommodations.
So then it's like, hey, you know, we really recommend you continue to do X, Y, and Z accommodation we have, or like, hey Liz, differentiation, so hey, next year I really want you to hone in on differentiation because that was here in your evaluation, and Liz is like, great, that's accommodation, so that's something I want you to work on, and we would draft that in there.
Yeah, or I want your learning standards up,
Yeah,
or,
So in any evaluation, the goal of standardization is to create a minimum or base function. So when we do this all the time for our residents, right? The goal is to create a captured survey, evaluation function to create a standard process throughout every resident throughout the country, right? But then within that evaluation does allow us to customize it in a secondary category for that specific person to evaluate, hey, this is a specific concern. It was, you know, you're hitting the base standard everywhere, but you are lower on this category than here. What's going on? How can we tailor it? So I do agree with Liz, like I would not divert off of any type of standard protocol that is governed by the state or anything like that, because it is, you know, you can run that up against any superintendent. Right? And then it allows us to then have a little bit of tapered effect with Jared afterwards, once we go through it, and you can customize.
and legally.
Correct. It creates a buffer to make sure if anybody else walks through the door that we evaluate, it's the same. It creates an unbiased initial screening, and that's how it's done for most professional evaluations, to have some initial standardized screening. Now, whether we divert further off of that is going to get pretty individualistic, and I'm just saying, for me, I would not alter this a whole lot if this is the state standard.
So we would keep these same district goals that have already been created by the boards. I don't know how many times you guys have done this, but the high expectations, the communication, collaboration, student performance, all the things that we as board members feel are important for the success of the school. So we would keep those district goals essentially the same, and
And
then
just kind of customize them a little bit more. on
Correct.
what
We
want
could
to see
evaluate
for-
what
Right.
subsidiary or secondary categories you wanted to create after that if you wanted to get specific, but I would not alter. The initial screening needs to hit the same standard across the board. You know, and honestly, most schools, in my opinion, should do that. Like, that's the whole point of standardized testing and everything else, is just to create a baseline.
Whenever you do this, you as the professional, like, your goals change, like, okay, I've learned
Right,
this,
they
I learned
should, yes.
So you change, so this is, I'm assuming Terry and I will go in and sit down and do the goals and have a conversation.
And then typically it's, hey, what support do you need, you know, this communication's low, what support do you need? Our job is to support the educator to move forward. You know, that's within the whole system of evaluation in general, that's what we do. You know, it's like, okay, here's what we're gonna do, what's the game plan, what support do you need, and you move forward. Like Liz, hey, you need PD, you need any conferences, you need me to come in and teach with you, some examples. So like that's an example of how the principal is a teacher with the student, with individual goals, and then the board with the superintendent. So, and again, Ohio is revising it. He told me a few months. Yeah, Tom Perkins. He said in a few months he was on putting finishing touches on it for the entire state. I did not know that until I called. So I don't know when it's out, but
Both times, we have to, with the policy, we have to do it by the end of March 31st. So, Liz and I get together.
so you two will be doing the evaluation.
No, we'll be setting up the goals and like, we'll have the conversation.
for the evaluation,
Yeah.
which is due by March 31st, and then that gives me time to give this year's evidence that I have to support
Oh,
the
yeah, you have
goals.
to come with evidence too, that proves that you hit those goals.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're here.
That's what we had talked
Yeah,
about before in the previous meeting, is that this is kind of,
The teachers.
by adopting that policy, like this holds everybody accountable
That's what I'm passionate
in a
about.
standard format, in a standard way, because if we didn't have this is where we could run into some issues, potentially down the road. Laura, you had mentioned that before, but that's why the adoption of this was put in place, and yeah, I mean, I'm good with keeping it the way it is. I think that there gives you enough wiggle room in the, what's the exact wording here, the specific work objectives and strategies to meet goal area to tailor it to our situation currently, but I'm good with it.
And I think we need to hold them to the same standards we hold our teachers.
That's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, sorry,
I get passionate about that, that's my profession.
No, it's
Yeah.
fine. I mean, we have, and Tyler just hit on it. We had this, and I'm not gonna, I don't wanna go too far into it, but when we talked about our February meeting, and we talked about not having an exit clause, on the non-reemployment of the superintendent in our policy, and I don't know if this is something we need to change then. If his or her services continue to be unsatisfactory, the superintendent shall be notified in writing by the board president as approved by the board. Notification of this intent to not reemploy his or her services shall be given in accordance with the contract. That clause has been removed from the contract. So this policy for non-reemployment of the superintendent doesn't matter. That's how I read it. Because the clause has been removed, which is, it's been removed, so.
I would,
I have to check. with
I
Megan on
defer
that.
you to Megan on that one, because
Yeah.
I think she was involved in that, right?
Yeah,
Well, it refers back to the policy, so something is not consistent.
You're saying it refers to the contract,
The policy,
refers to the
the
contract.
policy is referring back to the employment or reemployment based on the contract, but there's no unemployment, non-reemployment in the contract. There's nothing for that, no exit clause at all in the contract.
I would be, I'm not gonna speak on that,
right.
because
Well, I'll check
that's,
with
that's.
I mean, it doesn't matter at
that's
this
too
point
legal.
because the contract is what it is, but if it's something that does need to be addressed, it needs to be addressed in the next
Well, I think that
few years.
I think you have the right to understand and know that it's not, like, I think you have a right to understand and what exactly that language means. So I would check with
I'll check with
Megan
Megan.
and make sure, get back to Laura, so she can, you can rest at ease that, we're good. We're not boxing ourselves in a corner here. We can,
Not
'cause
that I have a problem with Jared, we've
Listen,
discussed that, I don't have a
listen,
problem with Jared.
Listen, while the public is seeing, if there is something you want me to do, I'm the type of person that will do it yesterday. I will prove to you, Laura, my dedication and my passion to South Range as I have with the 4 other board members. So if you have something, even if it's not in my evaluation, as you've done before, I'm the type of person that I desperately care because that's the only way I know how to live.
No, I get it,
And if you guys
had this
ever need me
conversation.
to get something done, I will get it done. And if I don't think it's right, I will speak up and
And
say, unfortunately, like I run this district, I'm the superintendent, you guys have 3 roles.
Yep.
You manage the soup, you manage the treasurer, and you set policy. We set everything else.
Right.
And how I run this district is through collaborative leadership, period. I get a lot of input, I do a lot of time, I do a lot of that. But if there's something
To see over
that,
You're the XO.
correct.
Yeah.
So if there's something that we need, or when I have to make tough decisions, which we've made and I will continue to make, just know I will get it done and I will take your input and I will process all of that.
And I believe you've proven that.
Yeah, and so I just wanna let you know, you don't have to wait, and I get, and I
No, I
agree
don't.
100% with Tyler, like everyone should know, all of that, and we have so many policies, at one of our trainings, they brought up, you will not know all the policies. Kevin Locke, the attorney, brought that up to us, because there's a million of them. But my point is, like, you guys know, pick up the phone, call me, if there's a concern, I'm usually on it anyways, because that's the only way I know to work. And I want to say that publicly, and sitting here hearing this conversation, I feel like I have the right to speak up and say that.
Absolutely. And I talked to Mario about this, last week or so. I was asking, is there ever an opportunity, and I don't know if this is something anybody's ever considered or we have done, for our 2 administrators to evaluate us in any way? Are we not providing him with the tools he needs to do the job that we ask him to do? Is there an opportunity, does he feel comfortable telling us, well, you guys want me to do this, but I can't possibly do it. If you're not giving me the ESC contract, I can't do this. Like, is there is there an opportunity for, I hope you understand that you have that, also that free speech to tell us if you're asking me to do something I just can't do, you're not giving
I
me the
think
tools.
Jerry feels comfortable
He will.
with us and you
He's told
will.
me that before,
Yeah.
and I respect him for it, so.
And I thought because of the communication issues we've had over the last month, that if that's failing,
And you
like,
have
we
brought
need to
that
help
up,
you.
you have. So just to let the board know, Laura has called me very frustrated because my all calls sometimes don't go out. My text messages don't go out. Laura has been right there saying, we need to get you, you 100% have. And I've showed Laura like, hey, I'm working with the company. I look at Dean,
You said, I'll put you on the phone with tech support, I'm like, well, you did that, but
I did.
I
I said, I'll put Laura,
don't recommend it.
Phone call Laura and Doug. But no, so I just want to let the board know Laura has said.
And that's the only thing that I can think of off the top of my head, that a system that we are providing to you is failing. So we want you to be able to have a system that's working, so you need to communicate with us if it's not, and you're not getting anywhere with it.
Got it.
Anything else? No. All right.
I'll move.
Second.
All in
See ya.
favor? Aye. All right, what time is it?
7:08.
Bad.